Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you're going to enjoy today's video. Today is going to be a nice relaxing video where we're going to build a bit with AI. So we're going to do some vibe coding, but there's a bigger purpose behind what I'm building, and I'm very excited to share it with you as I'm building on something that hopefully could have a bigger purpose. All right, so a few questions. What are we building today? Why are we building it? And also, why are we doing vibe coding again? Well, firstly, vibe coding because it's a quick way to do mockups, which I really enjoy, and we get to build something live on a video as I'm explaining the reason and the purpose behind this all. Now, secondly, the reason why I'm trying to build this thing today is because of me spending years in the open source developer community. I've seen amazing things. I've seen people collaborate and share knowledge, and what is the result of that? And I'm referring to what happens when people, developers, come together and build. And that's actually super amazing. But on the flip side, I've also seen so many developers burn out. They are flooded with tickets, maybe at their daily job. Maybe they are so under pressure that what they are doing doesn't feel to them that it has value, that they just feel like a cog in a big machine. And with the advancements of AI, I know, ironic, right? We're using AI today. But with the advancements, that feeling is exaggerated, right? Because now you're also sitting with this feeling of, okay, well, we can just code it like this and it will just magically appear, right? And it will make it easy for us to just enter a prompt and spit out a result. And that is true and also scary at the same time. At the end of the day, you just feel like your value as a developer, your contributions are not worth as much. And that is not true, right? That even though the fact is that the value is there, sometimes it's just not felt. And so I was thinking about this quite a lot. And I do have a kind of consulting agency that I was busy setting up a while ago called Dev Effort. And so I thought to myself, seeing that I'm working full time and the consultancy website Dev Effort, which is a cool name, I think, when it comes to the effort that developers put into work, instead of it just being here waiting for content to be filled, why not start something that is impactful, that could help developers? A central place for developers to come back here and realign, to find their why. And so what I've been working on is a tiny manifesto. Now, this is not by all means some rules or guidelines, as I'm not an expert in any way in these regards. However, I do have experience. I've been through the ends of the spectrums from being very, very happy with my input and contribution as a developer and to the other end where it just felt like whatever I was building was not adding any value. And so I had to set up some guidelines for myself and always kept on trying and retrying whatever I was doing. And so throughout this experience, I've managed to pick up a few things that I think could help developers that have similar feelings. I think it is something that I can just put out there into the world, and whether it is taken up by someone who needs it, even if it helps one person, I think it would be amazing. But the point stands is that I want to do something with the Dev Effort site and not having it just be there, but maybe being some sort of platform for developers to come and realign. And my hopes is that I can expand it with a community of people who have similar experiences, who knows of ways on how they got that feeling of inspiration and value back. And that's what I am trying to build. So here what you're seeing right now is a tiny manifesto that I typed out. We've got a little mantra, which is we build because we can. And there's reasons for each one of these things. I've got the 3 pillars and so forth. Now, this is just my why. This is why I am building this. I want to try and alleviate some pressure from some developers out there that's experiencing overload and feeling like they're not making that impact when in fact they actually are, and helping them see that. Now with this, I get to try out Lovable and see how we can build something from a prompt that I created. And the purpose of this is just to give you that inspiration. I might not use the site as is, but I want to quickly spin up some mockups. And I also recently heard of a V0 from Vercel, which does the same thing, which I'm going to try out in a later video too. But yeah, let's see how this goes. I have a prompt ready. I hope that the goal is clear what I'm trying to do. We want to transform this website into a platform where developers can come back and realign, feel good about what they do, and go in the next morning, feeling refreshed and ready for the day. Let's see how this goes. I want to start off by just trying to prompt and see what Lovable gives us for a starting app. I've got this prompt ready, which is explaining everything that I would like the website to entail. Basically, the manifesto is very important, so that would be on the main page. And then we're going to have deep dive kind of tabs where we're going to dive into the 3 pillars, where we can add more content as time goes on, exercises, for example, libraries, books, articles that might help developers to realign. Now let's take that prompt, paste it in there, and then also add some images like the logos and so on. I was a bit quick. I wanted to add the manifesto, which I'll add after this prompt, but it's kicking off and building our app. So let's see how this goes. Now, while this is building, I also want to give a shout out to the developer community out there, the Sketchy Labs community, the communities that we have spaces with on the month-end spaces, because some of the inspiration also came from that, from discussions that we had in our spaces, which is just phenomenal. Especially one builder called Sarah. She's in our space and she's a maker. So she always says you need to know your why. And I think that's just beautiful to put into the manifesto, as it really comes down to that. Okay, so it's done building. And first impressions, obviously, I am very impressed. I like what this Lovable site is doing. It's doing things just a little bit right. It just feels so good to type something out and then seeing an app. For me, I still find it so amazing every time I see it. Cool. So we've got the dev effort side. It is minimal. It is, straightforward. There's the 3 pillars, which I am going to provide the manifesto just now. It does have the view on Arweave. Oh, which I forgot to mention. Basically, I've uploaded the entire manifesto to Arweave. So we've got it permanently stored here as well, which I'll provide the link to so that we can have this link working. But you can download as a PDF and you can also share it. So that's quite nice. And then we can go to the pillars. Look how beautiful it did this, core pillars. And here we can see there's some exercises or related exercises, recommended resources. Very cool for when we build this out. And it's structured fairly well. Obviously, we'll make some tweaks. We've got the exercises tab, very well laid out. Obviously, there's some stuff that we can do, like moving things like the filters more to the right, aligning some of these a bit better, although it does seem to be aligned well enough. I think these buttons just need to stick to the bottom of the cards. But all in all, very, very fancy, very minimalistic, and right down to the point. And we also have a library section, which is pretty cool in itself too. And then we have the about, which nicely structured. I can't find any fault. Now, I am going to structure it differently. I just think what it produced right off the bat is actually really cool. We have to remember that we gave it a prompt and it did all this. And I've seen the code that this app produces and it's really workable. So even if I am happy with this and I export it, I can change it and work with it as the code's really clean. But I think about section here, it's not necessarily too important, but it would be nice to see some stats. There's some values, but we'll define all of that. All in all, very nice. Overall, I think the dev effort logo, it kind of changed that. Maybe it is time for a new logo. I mean, the logo does kind of look a bit plain. It's like a keyboard from the top down. Maybe it's been done already, but we can change things like that. I certainly want to change some of the colors. It looks very nice and light, but I do want to give it a bit more pop with colors as well, right? You coming here as a developer who's like burnt out. You don't want to just have it feel plain and boring, right? So we definitely need to change that. All right, so I'm providing the Arweave link to the manifesto and actually the entire manifesto as well, just so that we can update the content of the site. Alrighty, so you can already see there's more content now that it's added. It's expanded these cards, and there at the bottom, their view on Arweave. If I click it, it actually opens up the decentralized version of it. All right, great. So now while we're busy here, I thought about actually looking into Vasel's V0 already. The reason why is because we got a good estimation of what we can expect from Lovable. And I think by trying this out on V0, we can get a comparison, seeing which one we would like to continue refining our mock. And if it goes well, I'll stick with one to the end of our styling exercise. So let's put exactly what we did in Lovable here in V0. All right, so I pasted the prompt and I also created a new project, which I'm now having selected here. And then let's click on it to go and think and build it. I'll be really impressed if it does the same kind of thing Lovable does, where it actually shows the rendering of it. It would be quite cool, as I do enjoy this kind of side by side and it's looking like something is happening indeed. Very cool to actually compare the two. And secretively, I do hope V0 wins the comparison because I do like what Vercel has to offer, especially with all the other tools that they have and frameworks such as Next.js. It just all seamlessly integrates. I really like how you can actually see the code being generated. It says here app exercises page.tsx, meaning that it's building it in TypeScript and Next.js, as this is the convention of Next. So it is really cool to see it actually being typed out. And what I've realized, like I said before as well, the code that these tools started exporting has really improved. It's actually very usable and actually adaptable afterwards. So if you're a developer, you can even work on what's created here on the mock and continue with building out this app. And on another side note, it makes it even more relevant for something like dev effort and this manifesto, this kind of platform to exist. I think we don't realize it yet, but the impact on developer jobs and morale is it's going to be big, I think, in the future. And it doesn't mean that we should run away from AI tools. I just think we need to understand it better and see how we can integrate that in our daily lives and workflows. All right, so clearly something has been built, which is the manifesto. We've got some pillars. Now, obviously, it's a very different style to what Lovable actually gave us. Now, I don't know if that's because I didn't include images here, probably. So I'm going to add those images here as well. I do see we have got a light mode, which gives it that more clean light feel. But there's surely differences. From a styling point of view and a simplistic point of view, I do like the lovable.dev version better in a sense, uh, but it's not bad what V0 created at all. It's very useful and straightforward, and certainly with styling, I can improve that. Now, let me just briefly add those images and see if we can just get some of the green inside of this app. So let's do that now and see how it can improve. Also, I don't know how many credits I do have with V0. Hope I don't run out. But usually they give you enough to play around with tools like these. I highly encourage you, if you've never really played around with vibe coding and you don't know how to code and actually render applications, this is a great way to try and build something of your own, just even as a fun exercise. Because, yeah, clearly it is very easy to use and play around with. Now, let's see how it's going to look after this. Wow, now right off the bat, we do get some of that green color, which I really like. Obviously, it's using the dark, which I guess it doesn't know from the label, but it's using the dark logo there. And then if you invert this, you could see it's using the light one there. So it just needs to swap the usage of the light and the dark logos. But apart from that, it looks like it cleaned up it quite a bit. And also the color usage is really nice. There's these gradients that it's playing around with. And of course, this is not our main goal. Our main goal is to define the structure of this application. But what you can see is that it did similar things that we asked it to, of course, like in Lovable. So we do have the view on Arweave. If we click there, it goes to the correct site. And we've got the share and download button. The pillars are here as well now. So I am starting to like it, a bit more than I used to when it just rendered it. And I quickly did a prompt as well, just to invert these logos back. So now you can see that it is actually using the correct logos for the light and the dark mode. Also, something to note, it actually is showing the images. Now, here it does it, but on Lovable not. I guess that's because we don't have a DB connected to Lovable, so it's not able to store it, or unless we do tell it to store it somewhere. I'm not sure how V0 is doing it here right now. However, we can look into the code. Something to mention about the code, I actually just want to show you, is that you can see that this is a decently structured next application. The components are nice and readable. You can see that we've got our pages defined in the next format that it needs to be. And also for Lovable, I can say the same. If I switch over to code mode, we can actually see that we've got our source, we've got the components, UI, it even made some hooks for us, the libraries and pages. So although it's structured a bit differently, this is readable and usable code, perfectly divided in smaller chunks and components. All right, great. So to give a baseline, I'm just asking it to remove the theme switching capability on the V0, as that's not going to be needed. I know that everyone loves dark mode, but I think when it comes to consuming a lot of content, dark mode could maybe, strain your eyes a bit. Okay, so now time to style both. I'm going to give this prompt to both platforms, and this is just basically to do with styling the pages a bit better, giving it a more minimal and modern feel. Also placing emphasis on typography, how cards are styled and positioned so that cards have the same ratio and don't look like they're not in a grid. Also buttons, positioning buttons to the bottom, hooking that in so that that works as well. And then very importantly, I asked it to be very mobile responsive as well, seeing that majority of users these days consume applications on their phone. So that is very important. So if you're using some of these tools, you can always switch the view here at the top to see how this looks in a mobile view. So far, Lovable's one doesn't look that bad, and I'm just waiting for the V0 to update as well. Okay, so it's made the updates. Now, it's hard to see, but there are some differences. It looks more cleaner. You can see that this is now the lovable.dev one, that something looks cleaner. It removed some of the clutter here, as still keeping the same structure as it was clean already. And let's see how the mobile responsiveness is. Very good. Everything stretches well. It becomes full width when it's in mobile. Yeah, it looks clean. For the pillars, it did what I asked it to. It did make these three tabs, although it did include the descriptions, which I don't think is a good idea because that stretches everything off screen. But it did make a newer section here, which I like more because you get to see some of the individual exercises that you can do. So exercises, this kind of stayed the same. It did not click these buttons to the bottom. I guess I'll just need to specifically ask that for that page. Library looks good. So yeah, it did some nice cleanups. Obviously, still needing to do some stuff there. Now, comparing this to what V0 did is very cool. I actually opened V0 in a bigger tab just because I needed to see how this looks like, right? The mobile view. And I can say that in all honesty, it looks very clean and very good. It's very nice to see how the components are structured in a way where they scale well especially when it goes down to mobile. There is a working navigation bar, which the other one didn't have. So that is a plus sign. And overall, I think this is good because we can see that we've got our pillars. They are very nicely structured. It did exactly what I said it should do. Use the pillars as the tabs, although these tabs could look a bit different. Um, but I like how it followed the instructions, even down to the point where the buttons click here down in the cards. And that's important because I would like to prototype fast. And if I do give it some instruction, it's nice to see that it propagates through all the pages here on the V0 version. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to stick with the V0 one. And I like how clean it is starting to look. But obviously we can now chip away at this one. So I think for prototyping, we will use Lovable again, but for this project, just to get a very nicely refined mock of dev effort, I'm going to stick with V0 for now. And those are all things that we can refine in the next video. But I'm very excited for where we are right now. I do wanted to create this video to share what I'm busy building. And I think that it is going to be really amazing when we get to put up the dev effort site and it's actually going to be helping some developers. Let me know in the comments what you think. I hope this video was valuable to you to see the two different platforms as well, Lovable and V0, and how easy it is for you to actually play around with these tools as well. Now, without this video getting too long, I'll see you in the next one, and thank you for watching. Cheers for now.